And we are live, finally. It's Friday Night Pint. It wouldn't be the same without us being late. Listen, all I'm going to say to start this off is airport that way, Prague that way. Mate, I am still buzzing after last night. As you can see, Scott's in the house, one of the regulars, but we've got Brian joining us tonight. He's a regular on our podcast, Hammer It Out podcast. Brian, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, really good, really good. It's been a good week for obvious reasons, and glad to be on the show today. Really enjoying the podcast, so yeah, it's good to be with you guys today.
No, it's nice, man. We said we'd chuck you in, get you do some live stuff, and this is where it all goes downhill, mate. When you do the live stuff. Scott, you all right, mate? You
yeah, mate. I'm good. I'm good. Woke up this morning, happy as Larry, mate. It was
Mate, I wish I woke up happy as Larry. I ain't been asleep since I woke up yesterday morning at 9 o'clock, and literally I haven't been to bed since. Because our flight was coming home was like we had to be at the airport at 5 o'clock. So time we got back from the stadium to Amsterdam Square, it was like 1 o'clock. I was like, we might as well just stay out for a couple of hours, go and get something to eat, and it was great. Honestly, it was. I mean, you was obviously watching it at home. We was talking off air just a minute ago, but being in the stadium, it's honestly, I'll say it now, and I'm not just still living in the moment. It's probably one of the greatest moments in my time as a West Ham fan. That, especially with what I went through last year, being in Frankfurt, and then you still had that in the back of your head, like, because there was a thought that I was confident going into it, but I was thinking, this is West Ham. This is West Ham. No, mate. It was I mean, we're talking more about it, but yeah. Go on, give us your thoughts on the game, boys.
Go on, Scott.
Well, as we were saying on air, mate, it was one of probably the most nerve-wracking game I've watched probably since the FA Cup final against Liverpool. You know. And I was just sitting there, and do you know what? It was always going through my mind. I hate it when I do it, but I'm sitting there going, we're West Ham. We're going to mess it up somewhere. And every time they went forward, I think, we're going to mess it up. And the boys didn't. And no, that goal at the end, it was just perfect. Absolutely perfect. And, you know, you're proud of the team for what they've achieved to get there. You know, and it was great.
100%. I was the same as you. It was a tense watch, and I wouldn't want to go through that again, literally, because most of it was just so tense. But like, we played really well and like held our shape and stuff. But how things have gone this season, and generally, if the plan A don't work, you then get worried about what if, you know. So like you said, it was just kind of like waiting for that final whistle to go. But the ending was just perfect with that full nails goal. And as we were saying off here, that was a real emotional moment all round. I can imagine all round in the stadium or the households or anyone watch it getting really choked up with that. Do you know what I mean? Because, I certainly did. And it was just like a relief.
I mean, it was just like when 4-0 scored, obviously everyone was jumping on each other, celebrating. And when that final whistle went, like, I turned around, there was like grown men, like tears, and like we're cuddling each other. And it was just, and I'll be honest, it didn't really hit me until I got home today, because I haven't really had time to sit down and watch all the videos of the players in the changing room and watching all that how they was. And it was just like, honestly, it does get you emotional. You think like, whatever you think of this cup competition, it's still a European trophy. It's still a final. And we don't get to finals often. Last time was obviously 2006 in the FA Cup, the major final. And, you know, it was just like, it was just one of them moments that I don't think I'll ever forget. And like being out there with your mates and just seeing everyone's faces. And, you know, we had Andy Carroll sitting like literally 3 rows behind us. He was jumping up and down. It was such a great experience. And like, it's one I'll never forget. And I thought to myself, I was saying to Nicky, like, I was thinking it can get better because we can do it in Prague and lift that trophy. And you see the reaction of the players when they come over to the fans at the end. And it was like, I mean, look, Declan Rice probably will leave the football club. But what I see of him last night, mate, honestly, I got emotional with him. And I'll tell you one person I did get a little bit choked up with was when David Moyes come running over. because I wasn't expecting it. And everyone in that crowd, whether you love him or hate him, sung his name and clapped him because they could see what it meant to him. Because I think the emotions took over David Moyes as well. And it was one of them moments that I won't never forget.
Yeah, definitely. Could you so from in the stadium, and I don't know if we'll touch on this, but could you see like sort of what was going on? Obviously, when it kicked off with the away fans at the final whistle, was you kind of confused, or was it just jubilation?
No, the mad thing is, right, I think it was about the 85th minute, we was all singing Bubbles, and I looked over behind the dugout and I could see like about 100 people standing up singing Bubbles. And I remember saying to Nicky, that's all West Ham over there. And then all of a sudden, like, the full-time whistle went, and down the other end where their ultras were, you could see them like kicking a fence, and they just all started coming towards like, and I'll tell you what, fair play to them players, mate. Kevin Nolan was in there, Mark Noble's jumping over the fence, like they was all going for it, mate. It's their family and friends, like. But them two people that stood at the top of the stairs booting them down, mate. Fair play to them. I mean, I'm not one for all the right, but sometimes you have to protect your own. And it was it was one of them. It was just nutty because everything was going on. Because you're thinking, why aren't the players coming over to us to celebrate? Because some bloke behind me went, they're fucking off down the tunnel, and I was like, nah, something's going on over there, like. And then after that, they come running over to us. Kurt Zouma and Aguerd were the first to come over, and then like once that, then Rice come over, and everyone started coming over, and it was just like, it was magic. Honestly, loved it.
It was. You could see how much it meant to the players, like, but barring that sour bit that happened with the fans, their fans anyway. But you see how much it meant. You can see the friendships within that squad as well. The way Zouma and Aguerd, their friendship, their chemistry that they've got off the field. I think that's why they play so well together on the pitch. And you feel for every player, everything we've gone through this season, like what you said with Moyes, where we come over at the end. He's took a lot of stick this season. Sometimes uncalled for, sometimes called for. He has made mistakes in certain games, and some of the criticism he's got this season is deserved. But just last night, it was what we all wanted. Them, us, everything negative around this football club this season for me lifted last night. Everything, you forget about everything else, because this is the key thing. This manager, this squad are now 90 minutes away from becoming legends of this football club, and proper legends, not your modern day cult heroes, legends of this football club. They're 90 minutes away from that, and for Fornals to get that goal, I've been critical of him a lot this season. He seems such a nice guy. Everyone seems to like him. And when he went through, to see Danny Ings lift his arms in the air before he's even let go of before he's got in the shooting position, shows the confidence he's got in him, his ability. And I think because of the importance of the goal, everyone overshadows the finish. What a finish. Bottom corner, keeper had no chance. And you just thought, that's the person you wanted in that moment. He was perfect for that moment. It was brilliant.
He could have easily run that to the corner and just held it there and played for the throw on or the corner on that. But nah, mate, it was a great finish. Yeah. And like when I watched the highlights back when I was in the airport this morning, like it was a great finish. And I'm pleased for Fornals. And even at the end, like when the players come over and we was quite close to him, and Aaron Creswell sort of like let off this scream, and it was like the demons of Frankfurt last year getting sent off. Just went. All that lifted from them players' shoulders. Everyone that played last season. It was brilliant, man.
Creswell especially, because I know he said that in a few interviews with regards to the demons from last year, and that's something that definitely haunted him, and he felt responsible for what happened. And a lot of the fan base, we kind of felt, we kind of digged at him a little bit, and it almost became a thing in European games, didn't it? Where they were targeting that left side, that little cross ball and stuff. So like massive respect to him and all the players. And like Scott said, really, everyone was working together yesterday. The concentration level was so high. The shape was really good. You kind of like it was like a conventional 4-4-2 in a way. We had the two banks of four, and then Paqueta was pushing up with Antonio, but then out of possession, dropping back in that sort of 10 role. And we're on their right hand side, you know, their danger men in terms of Kirkis and the guy that plays just in front of him, Carlson. They're the danger men, and it meant that Bowen had to tuck. He tuck in, didn't he? Like and what's his name, Ben Rama as well. They really tucked in and kept that shape nice and tight, because I was a little bit worried about that side, but it was good, and you could see that we're just almost, it's always, and I know Scott would vouch for this as well, it's that final ball all the time sometimes with us, in terms of like Paqueta, where he is one step ahead of everyone else. Antonio will be the first to say that he's not the best with sort of one touch, close control, that kind of thing. And you can see there's been a couple of times in the last couple of games, the league game and in this game, where he's done those through balls to Antonio, and it just hasn't been there for him. But that we're just that little bit of, you know, we had a good few breaks yesterday, so as well as it being a good defensive performance, we did actually carve out some good chances. And I think rather than it being a thing where they didn't play that great, I think the way we played kind of stifled them, because at the end, if you look at the last 5 minutes, it became a basketball game. They just had to go for it, didn't they? So we had all that space where we just it took advantage in the end. But yeah,
and that's what suited us, having that space. Like, you could see the last, as you said, they have to go for it. They're losing the game, and it played into our hands. And I think someone Danny Ings done really well when he come on. He done really well holding the ball up, you know, winning it. I thought, and Antonio, you could see what he was trying to do yesterday. He knew he had to beat in the defender. He was just trying to spin him every time and get in a race with him, and that's what Antonio is good at. And Paqueta yesterday, he was unreal. Honestly, some of his touches, and then like, no wonder I think because everyone, there was rumours going around that he got nicked, like.
Really?
Yeah, because he was in none of the no one see him after, and everyone's obviously saying, oh, he's been nicked, because he was obviously throwing punches in that. But I think he got drug tested. They had to check with him because he was that good. They had to drug test him yesterday. Now, I think the back four as well. I think Zuma, I think Kehrer had a brilliant game. Aguerd was solid again. Creswell, and you know, everything just went right. And I remember saying to Nicky yesterday and Gary as well, I said, I can't see them scoring. I know they've had more possession than us. I think they had about 70% possession yesterday, which you're going to expect, because we was going to sit off them a little bit. But I just couldn't see them scoring. They was having half chances. I mean, I'll be honest, the Aguerd penalty, I thought that could have been a penalty.
Yeah. Because he went in with the wrong foot, didn't he?
I think we did get a bit lucky with the referee yesterday. I think there was a couple of decisions that on another night, or maybe in the Premier League, may have gone against us. And I think that Aguerd one, it would have been a soft pen, but I did think he took the player first before he got the ball. But it went in our favour. VAR is great when it goes in your favour.
How quick was that referee yesterday as well, booking our players for time wasting after what happened last week at our play? Like, Kehrer went to take a throw on, and he booked him. He was like, "Wait, what am I supposed to do?" Like, you know,
he weren't messing around, was he?
No.
I don't know. Like, I know there was some great performances last night, but for me, I thought Kehrer, that's the best game he's had in a West Ham shirt last night.
He's been good the last few games.
Yeah, I thought personally, for me, I thought he was man of the match yesterday, because I think he got everything. I know he had that little wobble where he nearly scored the own goal. But I thought he got everything right that he did yesterday. The tackle that he put in at one point, you know, I know Aguerd put in a brilliant tackle as well, and so did Declan Rice. But I don't know. I just Kehrer, for me, he was man of the match yesterday. I know Paqueta was great, but I don't know what you guys think. But that's for me. I thought he was brilliant yesterday.
One of the things that I like about Kehrer is he's quite an influence, like a calming influence on the rest of the team. He's vocal, he's a talker, and when you see him, whether it's live, it picked up a bit on the TV yesterday, but when you go to the games live, he's quite vocal and he talks to the people around him, and he just provides that reassurance. Whether it's that pat on the back, he'll give that little clap or reassurance if someone's given the ball. He's often in Souček's ear, actually, kind of like trying to reassure him sometimes. And I think that's really good. But as Ryan said, since he's come in for Kufal, he's basically, he's been really good from like the Arsenal game onwards. And now we're in a situation with Kufal especially, whereby, you know, going to the final, it's been a dream for him and Souček, isn't it? And he was first choice. So Moyes has got a decision to make for the remainder of the season now.
Yeah. But it's a good headache to have when you're a manager, in it, because we're starting to click at the right time, in we. You look at our last 10 to 12 games, we're putting some good performances, and look, whatever happens in the Premier League, we're safe now. We're not going to go down. Touch wood. Unless Leeds beat us like 13-0 on Sunday, which I can't see that happening. But I think no one's going to remember this season if we win that trophy, like Premier League wise. In 5 years' time, I say, Scott, where did we finish that season? You're going to go, no one's going to remember it, are they? Who's going to care?
No.
But it's do you know what though? Like, I thought Ben Rama yesterday, there was a lot of frustration within. I don't know what you's thought, but when they took him off, there was a lot of frustration in the ground, thinking, why are you taking him off? He's the only one that's trying to do something with him. But I think, obviously, it's easy to say it now, but I think Moyes got it spot on, because Ben Rama was sort of 4-0. Ben Rama was taking the ball forward, but he was slowly getting back. Where 4-0 is going to work back for you and win that ball. And I think that's what David Moyes spotted, and that's why they took Ben Rama off.
I agree. I think what it is that if you look at the back end of games, normally, sometimes our defensive discipline could be questioned, and it's normally down to fatigue. So say like an Antonio, for example, when it gets to that latter stage, he's getting taked off because he's gassed out, right? And when you're gassed out as a player, you're more likely to that defensive lap. You might do a pass that goes stray because you're fatigued, that kind of stuff. Ben Rama, normally his defensive concentration can sometimes let him down, whereby a man might run in behind, etc. Yesterday he was exceptional. So I think it was kind of a light for light, but like you said, 4-0 has that defensive capability, because he will track back, but he can also give you something forward as well. And I think it was tactical as well in terms of the time, using your subs and stuff like that, because it's one of those games that's so tight. It's a bit like a chess match where the team's doing so well, making a change in that game can sometimes make or break. Like, tactically, you bring on, everyone's playing all right and you want to make a change, but it's right. And then, it's that stick or twist kind of moment. And it's but it paid off. It paid off.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one at 1-0, because if he takes off, he took off Antonio and Ben Rama, and if they equalise, you've got extra time without them. Yeah. They're the sort of players that you want, because they can win a game for you. But look, it's all worked out, and I still find it mad now saying West Ham are in a final, in the European Cup final. It's mad, and it's all the attention is going to be on that now, and I'm looking forward to the build up over the next couple of weeks. And I just love seeing all the videos of people watching it in the pubs, the watch along that they done at Hackney Wick, and the videos, the watch along they done in Amsterdam, the Ironworks Tours one. It was just like, it's just nice to see, because we haven't had a great season. There's been a lot of negativity going around, and rightly so sometimes. But everyone has just been buzzing on Twitter, and you see like the fan cam of the little boy, who I interviewed, and it's been going mad. That's all. Everyone, when I was out there, everyone just kept coming up to me talking about that, and like to see like Declan Rice quoting it, like in the interview after, it's mad, like, and it's just brilliant. And you see all the videos in the change room. I mean, I don't know where Cotton Eye Joe come from, but whoever's got that on their playlist. But the best thing for me, and I tweeted it earlier, was seeing how awkward Soufal looked, singing and dancing to it, because he didn't know what was going on. And then all the players singing Bowens on Fire song, and Mark Noble, right, reminded me of someone that turns up late to a party. It's all going off and everyone's dancing. He walks in with a crate of beer, like, hey, I'm here, lads. I can imagine him being up the night before, preparing all the sandwiches. I'll look after you boys. I just love it.
He probably had the broom with him as well. Bought the broom over.
Yeah, I think it's what we need. We needed something like that. It's not been a great season, but yeah, it's great. And there was, like, obviously Tony Gale was out there, Tony Cotty was in the crowd, Andy Carroll, as I said, and like to see them players there and enjoying themselves, and Carroll was having the time of his life. Like it was brilliant, man. And it's as I said, I'll never forget that night. Whatever happens now, it's because we don't get them often. Yeah, and I know that there was only 900 or whatever lucky people that can be there, but I think wherever you watched it, whether you watched it in your house or in a pub or wherever, you'll never forget that night, and we'll always enjoy it. And let's just, we don't get good times often, so we'll take advantage of this.
Yeah,
Exactly,
definitely
mate.
got to hold on to that. Do you know what? Come to think of it, then, in terms of Sunday's game, what would you guys do in terms of the team lineup and all that kind of stuff? How would you go for it, Scott? What are you thinking?
Do you know what? I said this last week on here about Areola. When we were a bit critical of the goal that he conceded in the first leg, and I'm putting it down to lack of game time. I thought last night he done okay. I think he had two wayward. I think one was a throw and one was a kick, but overall I thought he was decent. He commanded his box well, but I just think he needs game time now. Sunday's a big game for us. It's the last home game, possibly the last time we see Declan Rice in a West Ham shirt at the London Stadium. I'm hoping it's not, but it is possible. Sam Allardyce is coming back. I don't want to lose this one, so I think we've got to go as full strength. Whoever's fit, full strength, play them. But I think Areola should start just to give him more game time. And that's no disrespect to Fabianski. Fabianski's a top keeper, a quality professional, but I just feel we need to get a bit more game time for Areola going into the final.
I agree, mate. And I think he does need to sort of keep it strong because you want the players to keep ticking over. But this is that time now. And we see it back in 2006 when we got in the FA Cup final. Them last couple of games, players don't want to go into tackles. They don't want to get injured. They don't want to miss out on that playing in that final. So, it's going to be the last two games are going to be. Do you want to risk a Declan Rice? He's fit enough. Like, I'd leave him out. I would for the next two games. Put him on the bench. I would rest him.
Wrap him in cotton wool. I think for the rhythm, so it's almost like that Guardiola effect where he likes to give the players rhythm. He feels rhythm's good, and where it's 2 weeks away, we've got two games in that time. I think for this one, I'm like Scott. I would go strong. I think probably Antonio would be someone who I probably definitely wouldn't give a full game, whether he do it the other way around and bring him on or just leave him out altogether, because that's someone who could potentially get injured. And then maybe just with some of the key guys, maybe bring them off a little bit early, try and get the game sewn up. With it being the last home game as well, and as Scott said about Rice, I think they want to give the fans a good send off and stuff. And then for the Leicester game, we'll be in a better position with a week to go to kind of then sort of wrap everyone up in cotton wool, almost put out the same team that went out against Brentford.
Yeah, maybe give Soufal a start just to get his match fitness back up, because we might need him in a couple of weeks. Players like Fornells, he don't start week in, week out. Maybe give him a start. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. Like, keep it strong, mix it up a little bit. Get this game out of the way. Everyone loves last home game of the season. When there's nothing really riding on it. I mean, for us, we could relegate Leeds. We could relegate Leicester the week after.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing for me. I think if we were playing on a Monday night and all the other results had gone sort of, I want to win this game because I don't want Big Sam to get one over on us. That's my main thing. But like you said, no one wants to lose the last home game of the season. We want to go out. But I think if we were playing on the Monday night, it'd have less pressure on it that we've got to put a strong side out, because obviously Leeds and Leicester could be relegated by the time we get to Monday. If and what we don't want is that we rest players against Leicester and not Leeds, and then we have the whole, we're going to get done by the FA or we're going to get done by the Premier League for fielding a weaker side. Even though I don't agree with that, because at the end of the day, you have a squad of players that you feel that are all capable of performing in the Premier League. Otherwise, you wouldn't have them. But, like you said with Antonio, he did hobble off as well. I think Dan's put it in the comments. He hobbled off at the end. So maybe
he always hobbles off. Kurt Zuma,
to be fair, the guy worked his socks off last night.
Every time Kurt Zuma goes in for a tackle, he gets up, he's hobbling. Maybe rest Antonio, start Danny Ings up front, and then if it's going well, maybe give Mbama a run out. Get him, because he could play a part in the final. You never know. it's what an experience for him as well, being in that change room with all them boys. And it's how old is he? 17.
Yeah,
Mate, 17 years old. He's in the change room. When I was 17, I was trying to sneak into the village wine bar in Green Gate. You know what I mean? Nicking me dad's aftershave.
Going back on the videos of last night is I was sitting there, I was watching them this morning because obviously Cody was in bed by the time the game kicked off, so he didn't know what had happened until I woke him up, and I'm showing him all the videos, and he's seeing the one where the one where Rice has got the beer in his hand but he's holding the camera.
Yes,
and he went, "Is that Declan Rice dancing?"
I think
is he drinking a beer? And I'm like, "Yeah, but I thought Rice don't drink beer."
I think even seeing David Moyes get involved with it, like when they're singing "Bowen on Fire," and I looked, and David Moyes is like the dad dancing in the background, singing "Bowen's on Fire," and I'm like, because the thing we spent a bit of time with Connor out there, Declan's brother, and he was telling us that like they love Moyes. They love Moyes, and from the outside, sometimes we feel, Moyes has lost the dressing room, but when you see things like that and how together they are, is it when you look at it over the season, the injuries that he's had, like we lost Aguerd at the beginning of the season, Paqueta took a long time to come in, we've lost Scamacca, so all these big signings that come in, Cornet was out for a long time, all these players that he wanted to gel in, they was all out for a long time. So that'll be another show where we decide to talk about whether Moyes should stay on if we do win the cup. But I know there's a lot of people that would like to see him still go. I'm sort of on, I don't know, like I feel that maybe he should be given the beginning of the season, first 10 games, just to see how he can get whatever going. But
I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed this morning after everything that had happened last night to see some people still commenting about Moyes going. Whether you like Moyes or not, whether you want Moyes at the football club or not, the guy's got us to our first European final in nigh on 40 years. Give the guy a break. Let's see what happens, and then at the end of the season, get it out of the way. Then we sit there and discuss. Let's have these last 3 games now. Forget about Moyes out and all that type of thing. Let's just see where we go.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
The thing is, if we win the European trophy, right? If you look back at these last 3 seasons in 20 years' time, you'll say that they're probably our most 3 successful seasons for a long time. Like what we've done, last year we got to the Europa League semi-final, which ain't easy to do, and everyone thought it was just going to be a one-off. And now we've gone one step further. I know it's not as big as a tournament as Europa, and there's better teams in there, but it's still hard to do a Premier League season, domestic cup games. And don't forget, we had to qualify for this as well. So we started around earlier. So we're unbeaten in this tournament. I just don't want our first defeat to be in that final because that will be heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. You raise a good point. The fact that, we've played in this competition now, near on 9 months or however long anyway. And the fact we've gone through it unbeaten, like won every game, drawn 1. And even that would be fantastic if we do win, to be able to kind of say, look, did that unbeaten. That would be a record that will probably never get done again, maybe.
Oh, can we be like the Invincibles? Can we bang on about our Arsenal, bang on about the Invincibles? The European Invincibles.
Merchandise, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, we'll be over that. Scott, do you want to go through some comments?
Yeah, I've started a few. We've gone quite long without actually taking any comments. So some of these are going to be way back from the beginning. Double Star, good to see you as usual, mate. Congrats on reaching the final. Shame it isn't the main talking point. Those ugly scenes at the end, they've got everyone's attention. Nigel, bonjour from all France. Feeling proud of the Irons and have to say thanks to you all for making us expats feel closer to home. A lot of people saying we have nothing to play for against Leeds. I agree. We need to beat Leeds and shut BFS up. And it could be Declan's last game in a West Ham shirt. So it'd be good to see us get the win. That's what we were saying earlier on. Paul says, congratulations, West Ham. Leeds fan here. Great achievement. Getting into a European final. Be interesting to see how you line up Sunday. Hopefully Rice and co. still on the Heinekens. Dino, it says, defensive wise, class that last night. Doubling up all night. Karen nearly made me change my shorts though. Mark says, as a Villa fan, I was proud last night seeing a proper English club going away and winning with England flags all over the gaff. Paul says, a Gued pen could have been given. The Zuan ball was poor from Areola. Came and missed. We could have dropped anywhere and not full foul on the keeper, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. I've totally forgot about that, the penalty shout that they had.
Mm.
In the Premier League, you probably would have seen that one given.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads, for a great FNP. 599 super chat. Cheers, mate. Cheers, lads, for a great FNP all season. Flights, accommodation booked to see you and Nick over there, Ryan. Fingers crossed I can get a ticket. Ariel should play the last 2 league games, get him game time before the final. That's going on what we were saying earlier. Dan says, we can't stand Antonio, who's hobbling coming off the pitch. Chris says, Fiorentina's last game in 3 days before the final. Would you rest the players for 10 days?
Yeah, I see that. They've got their final game of the season's away from home, like 3 days before the final.
Mm.
They're in a right predicament then of whether to rest players or especially going into a final.
In Italy, there are a lot more. There's a lot more sort of like, what's the word? There's a lot more sort of like gentleman agreements amongst the teams, particularly when it comes to certain games. If certain teams have got things at stake, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do like blatantly just sort of like rest their players for that duration of time. It's an interesting point with the first chat that came up, because with regards to how the media have picked up everything with the West Ham game, there was a lot of how it's sort of been portrayed is that like West Ham players jumping in and mixing in with the fans and fighting and all that stuff, rather than it's only sort of, it changed later, but all of the first sort of reports on it annoyingly was kind of like West Ham fans confront Outmar fans and all that, and I don't think that was really good. But I know Outmar have come out, haven't they? They've put a statement out basically later on this evening, sort of condemning what the fans done and hoping to kind of catch who find people responsible and get them banned and stuff, which is the right thing to do.
The thing is,
I think there's definitely a big fine coming their way.
The thing that worried me a little bit is straight away. I was listening to TalkSport on the way into work this morning, and was someone involved with their club. Straight away said, "Oh, but this all started last week at the London Stadium. Where there was an altercation with their players' families, and if there was, it wasn't as big as that. It wasn't our fans storming down a gate, knocking a gate down to try and physically attack people. Look, I'm not saying there weren't anything that went on. I don't know, because I weren't aware of what had gone on. And if there was something, then but that doesn't justify them then trying to go and attack players' girlfriends, players' wives. It's and I thought that was a silly comment from their side to actually bring that up in the first place. There's no justification for what they did.
Definitely not.
I agree, mate. You got any more comments or?
Yeah, a couple more super chats. Bear with me. We did it, boys. 47 years of waiting. Shout out to Nolsey for battering the AZ Ultras and holding the line. Legend, Prague, here we come, baby. That was a £10 super chat from Slowbro Clay. Nice. Cheers, mate. Thank you for that one. And Steve WHU Bell. Great to see you on board, Brian, on FNP. You're going to enjoy it, mate. Big up, fella.
Nice one, Steve.
There was a lot of comments in there. People, good to see you on the channel, mate. On FNP, mate. I couldn't put them all up though.
No,
I don't know. Can you see all the comments?
No, not at the moment. No.
We'll sort that out. But yeah, it's gonna be mad. Because my dad's name's Brian. So growing up, my mum used to shout out upstairs, and we'd both answer. And so now it's gonna be Ryan and Brian on the same show. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But it's good to have you on board. How are you enjoying it anyway before we move on?
Yeah, loving it. And you know what? So with the podcast we're doing with Nikki, we've done 4 episodes now. So 4 weeks have gone really good. A lot of interesting chats. So for those who are not patrons, definitely join on for that exclusive content. we've had some funny stories in there. Nicky talking about his adventures in Paris, me talking about meeting Martin Allen, lots of jokes about Premier League roundup, Messi versus Ronaldo, lots of different stuff. So it's gone good and really smooth in terms of just having a bit of chat and football banter.
One thing you'll learn on this channel is there's a lot of Nicky stories, and I've got one for you now that happened this morning. Right, this was at 5 o'clock this morning. The Uber picked us up from our hotel. Right, so there's Nicky sat in the front. We've put our bags in the boot. Nicky sat in the front. There's me, his brother, and Gary's mate, all in the back. Right, we're flying down this motorway. The cab driver's he's out of his nut. He's just laughing at anything, honestly. And all of a sudden, like, Gary went to me, "Are you cold?" And I went, "Yeah," because the driver had his window open. And all of a sudden, I just felt like this cold air just come out of nowhere. And I thought the guy put the air conditioning on. And all I could hear was bibbing. I turned around. Nicky didn't shut the boot properly. The boot had come open, and Nicky's suitcase was flying down the motorway.
No,
Cars were swerving it. So the driver pulled over. And he's laughing to himself, and we're looking out, and Nicky's just like walking down the motorway. Cars are swerving him. His bag's just gone out. I'm like, oh, mate. Only him. Lord. Only him.
Oh.
But yeah, I just remember it because he had this light green case, and I turned around and looked at it bouncing down the road, and cars are swerving it. I'm like, oh, mate, come on, let's just get home now. Then because we was meant to fly direct from Amsterdam to London City Airport, and we got a text message yesterday saying it's been cancelled. So we had to literally fly from Amsterdam to Germany, Dusseldorf, I think it was, and then get a connecting flight there back to London City Airport. And I was just like, oh, you know, they'd do anything to take us back to Germany. Maybe they thought because we lost to Frankfurt, they want us to go to Germany and experience that again. But yeah, we weren't there long. We was only there literally about 40 minutes, and then we was back in the air. And yeah, it's just there's so many Nicky stories I can tell. I got one. I fell down a set of stairs. I got a massive bruise on my back, but that was down to an alcohol-related incident.
One of the things I spoke about as well, I think it was it might not have been this week's one, it might have been last week's one, was Nicky's drunk performance on Friday Night Pint 2 weeks ago. Classic. The thing is as well, when if he didn't put in a disclaimer at the beginning that he's had a few, then like you would think that something's happened to him, like what's going on, because he was coherent. It's not like he's slurring all over the gaff. He's actually just talking, but he's rambling, and it was just, that was hilarious.
I was sitting there and I was trying so hard not to laugh, but he'd be talking about something, and then he'll just start going on about something we spoke about too. But we've all been there doing this show. I remember doing one once where I thought it was during lockdown. And I was going through a period where I like to nice drop of red wine. So I thought I'd get a bit certificate. I can't even say it. Sophisticated. And I'm drinking the red wine, but then like I'm 2 bottles down, and I'm like, I can feel myself going. And I'm like, I'm talking absolute. People probably think, well, he does it anyway. But I've got bright red lips. I look like Heath Ledger at the Joker, at the Batman film.
I remember that one.
You just remembered one thing. Sorry, Scott. I remember one thing that Carlton Cole said in commentary, actually, going back to the game a little bit. And he mentioned how their ultras went to the players' hotel the night before, basically, and just was making a load of noise and stuff like that to be disruptive.
The fireworks.
Yeah, I'm sure who done that in the Premier. Was it Everton? Was it Everton's fans? I can't remember. I know there was a game where someone tried to rile up the opposition team before a big game the day before.
Didn't someone do it to Spurs once as well? I think it's one of the Spanish sides they were playing, done it to them as well. Went sat outside the hotel, set fireworks off, and bibbed the car all that kind of thing.
The funny thing is because obviously the morning of the game we met up with like Connor and that, and we said to him like, oh, like did Dex say they all sleep with noise cancelling headphones on anyway, so they wouldn't have heard it. All the players wear the headphones when they go to bed, so they wouldn't have heard it, but the locals would have seen a nice firework display.
Yeah. I just hope we go on and win it now, because again, like we've got this far. I think as a fan base, as a club, and everyone involved, the experience of last night has really cheered everyone up, and it's just really given everyone that drive. So taking it over the line and winning and creating history, everything about this season, as you said earlier on, Ryan, it's just going to be reset, and it's the only thing you've got to remember. And then there's some big decisions to be made from all aspects, really, from the hierarchy at the club with regards to Moyes, players out of contracts, transfers, all of that stuff. There's so much. This summer is going to be huge from a West Ham point of view, and it's one that could either help us propel forward, stand still, or even go backwards if the decisions that are made are the wrong ones.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. There's so much to do in the summer. We need a big reset, as you said, from top to bottom. You don't know whether there's going to be new owners coming in. There's rumours that David Sullivan might look to sell in the summer, sell his shares. The manager situation, as you said, players are out of contract. We need to bring in, especially if we sell Declan Rice. That's how do you replace Declan Rice? You can't. So you got to bring in players that can be as effective as him, because you can go on and sell Declan Rice, but you might go out and find 2 or 3 players that click in that midfield.
Yeah.
And then, like a Ward-Prowse that we've been linked with, and you bring in someone alongside him, it might free up, help Souček out a bit more. But the thing is with Declan Rice is I looked at him last night and we was right close, and he's standing at the front and he's belting out bubbles and he's banging his chest and I know players do that, but I believe it with Declan Rice, and he loves this football club. And the thing is as well, as I said, speaking to his brothers, his mates, he said, because some of them obviously don't support West Ham, but they follow Declan Rice, But they said they're going to miss, if Declan does go, they're going to miss the away days with the West Ham fans. He said they love them, and they even said, I don't think he'll ever be as loved anywhere else as he is at West Ham. And I just think to myself, if we win that trophy, can we maybe keep him for another? Because even if we keep him for 2 years or another season at least, he's only going to be 24, 25. He's in the peak of his career. He can still have that big move, but I'd just love to see him stay there and maybe build something around him. And just, I think he's got the world at his feet at West Ham. He doesn't have to play anywhere to get in the England team. If he wins a trophy with West Ham, you never know what can go on. I'm not saying we're going to go and win a trophy every season, but we could be up there challenging. I don't know, but it's a lot of money for a club like West Ham to turn down.
The thing is as well is that you look at Roma. Look, they won the Conference League. They're in the Europa League final. That could happen to us with the right, like we say, Brian, with the summer. If we get the summer right, and we do keep Declan Rice, we could do what Roma have done. We could potentially go and, because we were so close last season, and we've competed well in Europe this season. Granted, it's a lesser tournament, but we've still competed well. We've got ourselves that one step further in the tournament. We've got to the final. It will be, if we win this trophy and the right things happen in the summer, it could change Dec's mind if he has chosen that this is the trophy. It could change his mind because he's got that trophy.
I said Declan's probably the only player that I can remember for a long time that if he does leave the club, he'll go with our best wishes and we'll wish him well. Unless he makes the wrong move and goes to the dodgy side of North London, Spurs, but that'll never happen. But whenever he comes back to London Stadium, he'll always get a good reception, and we just need to enjoy him. I hope that Sunday ain't going to be his last home game for us, And if he does leave West Ham, and the last thing he does is lift that trophy in Prague, he'll be remembered. You think the names? It'll be Moore, Bonds, and Rice.
Yeah. And it's almost the perfect way to bow out, right? If he does, because with that being, the final game and stuff, it would just be perfect, and it would be kind of like signed, sealed, delivered, done. I've done my bit. Who knows? Who knows what can happen in the summer? I'm sure there's already been lots of stuff in the background, negotiations and stuff. But even with that, things change. But the question really is, and Ryan, you've answered what you think in some respects, but in terms of, would it be the right thing for us to keep him for another season, or take him at his maximum value in terms of what we can get for him now. And that's a real tough one.
The thing is, if we can get the right investor and we can afford to take that hit, you know, because if you're looking for 120 million now, you keep him for another year, you're still going to get probably 60, 70 for him, which is still a lot of money. But I do what for me, I think if we got offered 120 million, a club like West Ham can't turn it down in the situation we're in now, because you can go out and you can, as I said, you'll never replace Declan Rice for what he brings to the team. But we said that about Payet when he left. We said that about Arnautovic. These players that you idolise, you're upset when they leave, but then you find someone new.
Yeah.
And then I don't think we'll ever forget about Declan Rice. Of course we won't. He'll always be, for me, he's a West Ham, like, not a legend, but if he wins that trophy, it will be. But he's just, I don't want him to go. I really don't. He's one player that when I looked at him last night and I just see the way he was, I was thinking to myself, I wish we could just keep him. He's got the same. When I look at him, I see Mark Noble. I remember seeing Mark Noble, you know, when we won the playoffs against Preston in 2005, and he was only a youngster.
Yeah,
and I remember him then. And then he went on to do what he done for West Ham. And I know that players want to be remembered and they want to look at their trophy cabinet, but sometimes being a legend at a football club, you know, Mark Noble will never have to buy a drink around the East End again. He's that much of a legend. So Declan Rice can either go and have 10 Champions League medals, or you can have 3 drinks for life in the East London. I know what I'd choose.
The thing is, you know, with him, like you said, sometimes players don't need to. The idolisation that I feel that he's got within the club, you know, he's stuck with us. I'm sure there's been opportunities where he could have gone last season or the season before. He's stuck with us because he showed faith and loyalty to us, because we showed faith and loyalty into him. You know, we picked him up after he was rejected by Chelsea. We brought him through. He's a captain. And what you were saying, Brian, if he bows out winning the trophy, it's like I've repaid the faith that this club showed in me, and I've got him a trophy. You know, but I don't know. I just feel if we get the right things happen, I think if we win that trophy, the right things happen early in the summer, he could stay. Because I said this the other week, that if we were to keep Rice for one more season, we're going to lose 60 million quid out of his valuation. So at the end of next season, if we get 60 million for him, we could win Europa League.
You're looking at
that would earn us 60 million. You know, we could earn the money that we would lose and have another trophy, and then also have the opportunity to convince him to stay longer.
Yeah, you look at that team spirit that you see yesterday in the change room, and you think to yourself, right, we win this trophy, they go away for the summer, they come back pre-season, few new signings. Declan's thinking, right, we're in the Europa League now. That's a step up. We're playing against bigger teams. We go again in that. We proved it last season. We can mix it with the best. You know, we go on. You think Declan thinks, we win that, I'll have Champions League football with the club I love. I know that's a big ifs and buts, and there's so many, like, it can go wrong, but you never know. Football's a funny game. And
it is.
To pop in. Right.
You're right about that, lads. Honestly, I don't know what happened. It was just time lost all meaning. You know what I mean? I had to ask someone. I went, wait, this is going on longer than it's supposed to. Like, feels like it's longer than an hour. What time is it? It's like 10 to 8. I was like, what? Let me get out there. Fucking, oh, mate. But yeah, I've been watching on the train anyway back. So, no, it's a good show. I have to dispute something. I have to disagree with Scott, as usual.
Oh, here we go.
But, no, this notion of, you know, we can't let Big Sam get one over on us. We can't lose to Big Sam. We can't let him beat us. I disagree with massively. I do not care at all, right? To me, the final is everything. Whether Big Sam could slap us 4-0, whatever, it don't bother me. Look, he wasn't liked when he was here. He did a good job, in my opinion, as a manager for what he had and what he was asked to do. Look, he did say some crap that didn't really endear him to the fans. But at the end of the day, look, if he wins that game, keeps Leeds up. Look, I like Leeds. I want them to stay up anyway. But yeah, I think like for us, that's just we're safe, so that shouldn't be a factor. All eyes on the final. All eyes on the final. Big Sam, whatever he does, you know.
I see where you're coming from, mate. I do see where you're coming. I just don't want him to get one over with us. That's all. You know?
Yeah, but what does that like? Do you think he's looking at it going, "Oh, I got one"?
I'll tell you what, right? Watching Moyes' interview after the game, right? Every time he spoke about something to do with the side or a decision that he made or anything like that, it was always we. It was never I. It was always we. We done this. We done that. That was Big Sam in that interview. It would have been I. I did this. I did that. And that's the difference with Moyes. And they're both defensively minded managers.
I thought Scott broke into Michael Jackson Ben then singing.
Moyes.
Do you think that he'd have one over on us though if he beat us at home in a nothing game to us and we won a trophy? Do you think he'd go, "Oh, I beat West Ham"? Like we'd be like, "Who gives a shit?" But
that's what I don't want. I don't want that situation to happen. I don't want him to get one over on us.
But he's not got one over on us.
One thing is for certain though, when he took that job, he would have definitely earmarked our game and possibly the Tottenham game as games to get at least 4 points. So he'll be coming to the game on Sunday, licking his lips for the fact that we've had a really hard game in Europe, and he'll definitely be coming thinking they can pick something up. I think it's going to be a really good, entertaining game. Regardless who we play and who we pick, I just think it will be a good attacking game. And the Leeds fans, they come hard, so the atmosphere is going to be.
Ryan made a really good point on the video, just to point out, Ryan. I really agree with what you said about the players. Unlike Scott with his awful point that he made, but you made a great point. It's just about the players might even if we don't rest players, and I do think those players will need rest in that. They had to dig in deep in that game. They had a bit of a party afterwards. I know they probably weren't drinking 10 beers, but they had a few beers, a few sandwiches, and all of that. So they're not going to be 100%, even if they do play. And like you said, their mind's going to be on, I don't want to get injured.
You remember back in 2006, leading up to the FA Cup final, do you remember when Dean Ashton and Matty Everton were touch and go whether they were going to play, and everyone's like, you don't want anyone just picking up a little knock, because could you imagine Leicester away last game of the season 2 minutes ago, and one of the Leicester players they're going down and they just fly into Declan Rice and it puts him out the final.
And that's what I mean. These players, they Leeds and Leicester players, they will be flying in. They will be going, giving everything, and that we won't, and that's understandably. So we're more likely to be on the end of bad challenges. I think that could do us some damage. So why?
Dan, the last game Leicester played, the one thing they weren't doing is flying into challenges.
but imagine though, last game of the season.
They're not going to. If they're down by the time they play us, they're not going to even be bothered.
Well, that's the question. That's a big. Who they got next?
They've got Newcastle.
Play Newcastle on Monday night.
Yeah, and Newcastle are gunning. All they need to do is win one more game to confirm Europe. With Leicester, they give you a lot of space, don't they? There's a lot of space.
Well, as Brian said, I mean, I watched Leeds last week against Newcastle, and I thought Leeds played really well. Got a good result. And as
was unlucky, really.
They knock the ball about, they get stuck in. Everything's online. It's Premier League status. You need to be in the Premier League these days. For the money, you get relegated. Do they still do the parachute payments, or they stop that now? I think so.
I think it's
you got Everton as well fighting for the life. You got Nottingham Forest down there. So I'm just glad we're not going. Could you imagine what it'd be like if we still needed a result?
Yeah.
It'd be like you think so. I won't be able to sleep.
See, reflecting now, look how massive that United result was. Do you know what I mean? Because look, the week after, all the other teams picked up points, didn't they? With Forest picking up those points, Everton picking up that bizarre win against Brighton. It just squeezed everything up down there and put real pressure on Leicester now.
And it's typical West Ham that we look at the Palace game and go, right, we win the Palace game, we're all good, and then whatever happens to the men, we get battered in the Palace game, we lose the Palace game, and then we win the Man United game. That is West Ham all over, But like Scott was saying, I do agree, Scott, what he said. It does feel like this weight of negativity has been lifted off of the club. I just feel happy regardless. You know, I just feel good.
I think a moment like yesterday will, like, as you said, it hasn't been a great season, but Europe has always given us that little bit, you know, you still got that in the background. You know, we're still doing well, and you get to the quarters and you get through, and then you think, right, semi-final. Now we're in a final, and it's like everyone's got something to look forward to now. June the 7th is going to be in everyone's head. Everyone knows where they're going to be on June the 7th. Everyone's now planning whether they're going to go to Prague or they're going to go to the watch-alongs or the pubs and barbecues with their mates. And that's what it's about. Get together with your loved ones and your mates and just enjoy this moment, because it ain't going to happen.
I take it we all failed the ballot. We all didn't get it. We all got rejected.
Nicky hasn't got his email yet, so I don't know.
Fingers crossed. But I
He's
tell you what, on the Moyes thing, I know you talk about the Moyes thing, and obviously I've been one of the more vocal critics of Moyes.
No, never.
Yeah, I know it might shock you. You know, I've had a few things to say about Moyes this season, right? And I've always maintained, regardless, he should go. The problem with me is I'm a big softie, right? So when I see him there with the beers, jumping around, I start going like, oh, you know, like.
Man, I said the same thing. Like when Moyes was the first one to come over to the fans yesterday, and he come running over, and I don't know what he was doing. His arms were going one way, but he was. I think it was so much emotion just coming out at once, and he was just so happy. And like even the fans that were there was fans that are vocal against him. They were clapping him, and they was like, because I think they just all. I think that we've all got to that point now where we feel, right, the club's not getting rid of him. Let's just sort of get behind these players, get behind Moyes, whether you like them or not, just for these final few games, and hopefully we can win that trophy. And I think that's what come out. There was a lot of emotion come out yesterday from the players, the fans, and David Moyes, the backroom staff. I mean, even like every time I watch them videos, I notice someone different. And even Fabianski, like that's for me, Fabianski, he's our number one. It must be hard for him to think, I might not play in a final, you know, I'm the number one, but that's how football works with goalkeepers. But he's still there, jumping on Areola's back, like celebrating, because they've got that little goalkeeper union, and like they want him to do well. And it's a tough decision for David Moyes in the final.
I tell you what, if there's, depending on how the game goes, if we're winning comfortably, you got a spare sub, just sub him on. And get him that bloody medal. But
you know what? I put him up front. I put him up.
yeah. The thing is, I'm not saying. By the way, I'm not saying I've changed. Someone said flip flop. I'm not saying I'm Moyes in. Like even if we win, like I would like to see us move on and some progression. What I'm saying is, I'm more like you said. Like if we win the trophy, let's see how the first run of games go. Like he probably will stay if we win the trophy.
So Dan,
I'll give him a chance.
I remember we a Friday night pint with me, you, and Graham on.
Oh, here we go.
Where me and Graham said roughly the similar thing to what you're saying about give him time. You know, you can't really sack him after winning the trophy. And you and a lot of people in the comments.
Dan remembers it because he's trying to smile. Look,
laid into me and Graham. It was like Dan set me and Graham up to foul, right? And now you're coming round to what me and Graham were saying.
I think, me personally, I think if we win the trophy, I think it'd be the perfect way for Moyes to leave the football club. Because if we win the trophy and we start off bad next season, it's just going to go all negative on him again.
Yeah.
You know, so he might want to stay on. I don't know. He might want to go out on with a trophy and just think, right, yeah, I've done what I've come here to do, and you know, I'll leave on a high. And then I think if he does that, he'll always be welcome back to the football club in the future. Yeah. You know, and fans, if you're on holiday and you see David Moyes, you go home to him and talk about that great European night and the great memories. You don't talk about, when we lost 1-0 away to Burnley and whatever, and we were bottom of the league.
Go out on a high. Where do you stand, Brian? Because I've never really known too much where you stand on the Moyes issue. And I know, obviously, like we seem to be changing. And like I said, I'm just saying, all I'm saying is, I'm not going to be calling for his head or saying, yeah, get him out. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to be patient and see what we do, because league progression, even though we've been shit in the league and we could win a trophy, next season we have to see us get back at that league form. But how do you feel about the Moyes issue?
I kind of agree with both sides of the argument. I mean, me personally, just looking at this season in isolation, I was all right with Moyes up until like the Palace game, and also sort of like from like the World Cup and stuff. And I felt if there was a time to have a managerial change, it was then. It was literally World Cup, because it would have been enough time to get someone in, get things in place, and then we've got like a fair chunk of the season left. The club stuck by him, and I spoke to Nicky about this in terms of, you know, with the club sticking by him, is there an argument that you kind of have to give the people upstairs credit for sticking by him because he's kept us up, or not? So we had a conversation about that too. But I think the same as Ryan, I think regardless of the result, I think it would be the perfect opportunity for him to ride in the sunset, because then, you know, he's done what he's want. It will only take for maybe misuse of money in the transfer market, or not responding quick enough, or doing something that will rile up the fan base, that will just make things like very, very toxic. So yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because the fact of the matter is, when you're winning, it's harder to kind of do something. So where there has been sort of rumors and stuff over the last month with regards to what the future holds for him, in that period of time, we've had a turn in results. And then all of a sudden, people were then kind of like, And then we're in this situation now where we're having a conversation about, well, what if this and what if that? Yeah. I asked Nicky the same question literally last week, and he was very adamant that regardless of the result, he should go. And but then the question's being asked, and a lot of people are sort of now reflecting on what they're saying. But I think in terms of the club and progression, it's about showing gratitude and appreciation, particularly for what has happened over the last few seasons, and the fact if we do win the trophy for this season. And then thanks very much. Now, if we want to be like play a bit more progressive football, it's time for a change. But it's a big operation either way. One thing for sure, yesterday, as Ryan said, everyone was together, wasn't they? Everyone really wanted it, and everyone was kind of working together as a unit there. Everyone really wanted it, and the concentration in that game yesterday was immense.
Do you know what concerns me, Brian, about keeping Moyes is, and you sort of hinted at a little bit, but it's just the next step in terms of the transfer window, because, you know, like you guys were saying earlier, it seems like Paqueta's finally coming around. He's kind of finally starting to fit. Big question marks over how Scamacca fits into this side. Still big question marks over Cornet. Again, like we can't really judge those. Ings, you know, he seems like a great guy, but question marks over him actually fitting. I don't think he fits the side, and he's on a lot of money. Kura, I'm still holding out that hope that he comes good, but you know, Aguerd, I think is quality but inconsistent. So there's still, like, for the spend, we haven't seen it pay off yet. And I think regardless of Rice going or staying, we're going to have a big window, and we can't afford to bring more players in and just say, all right, we'll write off this season and hope they come good the following season, because I really, really want to go for that Europa League next season. And, you know, if not that, try and get back up into the top 7 and finish.
Dan,
transfer.
You know what it is, right? It's almost reframing the question. So, like, credit where credit's due with Moyes, okay? But if we look at it, let's change the question. So, has Moyes, do we feel as individuals that Moyes has taken us as far as we can go in terms of league status? You know, finishing 7th, 6th. Is that his limit? And if the answer is yes, and we want to be someone who maintains that level or even progress higher, then that's the answer, in it. We need to change, because it's the same equivalent of, like, if you take a different manager, if you say like Roy Hodgson, or even like a Alan Kirbishley, who played for, you know, mid to bottom table clubs, but kept them in the division and kept them at a respectable place. So everything was ticking over, but then the fan base then want it to be the next level up, because yeah, it's great being a mid-table club and all that, but they want to progress and they don't want to play defensive football. So we want the next thing. But we'll always give those guys credit because they do what they do well. But if we want to progress to be something beyond that, which effectively is what the club had promised us, years
And
back.
that seemed to be the plan. What
Yeah.
happened this season, innit? We seemed to go to the possession base and then we've gone back, innit? And it didn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. So he had the idea because, you know, he said we've been found out in terms of our style and it was time to go possession based. Did it work? No, it didn't work. And a lot of people could say, well, potentially it could be, there's many factors, but let's just say he's not used to playing that type of game because he's always having one style and then trying to learn a complete different style. It didn't work. So then if there needs to be a change in style and culture, then maybe he's not the man to.
It's like you look at it like this way. I mean, like to get into that top 6, you need the money as well because you've got to bring in top class to because that top 6 at the moment is just unreal. Like, but could you like say for instance, like if Moyes went, do you think if someone like I'm not saying he's going to come to us, but someone like a Guardiola, if he had this squad, do you think he could take this squad in and put us into a top 6? Do you think he could do that?
He's a top coach. He makes players better. Imagine what Guardiola could do. And I'm not saying like Guardiola can do with us what he does with Man City players.
I'm just saying like any top 6 like Jurgen Klopp or anyone. Do you think because sometimes like when they've got the money, they can go. I mean, look at City last season. They've done well. They went out and bought Haaland. He scored like 58 goals this season. Like they was missing a striker last year. They still won the league. But they've gone out and bought the best striker, one of the best strikers in the world at the moment, scoring goals for fun. They can do that. And now they look like they're going to go on and win the treble. So when you've got that financial backing, so with our level, with our owners, I think we do back the manager. I think they do back the manager financially. They have done the last few years, but for our level, we can't go and spend 600, 700 million. Like, look what Chelsea done. But listen, as I've always said, spending money doesn't always guarantee you success. Because as I said,
to answer your question, to answer your question though, Ryan. So for me, the difference is so Guardiola or whoever, Jurgen Klopp. One of the things about successful managers is they're ruthless. So if they feel they're dealing with players that can't deliver on what they're trying to implement, they're going to be on the bench. He'll have them out. If you think about when he came in with Joe Hart weren't able to be a goalkeeper that can play with the ball at his feet. So do you know what? Joe Hart's quality goalkeeper said, "Nah, you're not in my team." So if those guys are a bit more ruthless, so that you don't have the loyalty that you might have at our club, whereby Bowen has a fantastic season, then the next season we just keep playing him at the beginning, even though he was garbage for the beginning half of the season. Someone like a Guardiola, they're not going to have that. You're in, you're out. They'll have like a concept, and then if you don't fit that, and the people will back him because they know he'll come with a strategic plan in terms of explaining what he wants and the type of players we need to fit in.
The difference between them sort of managers and you down the years with Ferguson, Wenger, is when plan A ain't working and plan B ain't working, they've got a plan C. But with us, we've got one plan, and if it ain't working, you just stick to it until it works. And that's the difference between that level manager and the elite. And that's why they do go on and win trophies all over the world and titles and Champions Leagues.
That's a good point. So I was just thinking, like, in terms of the title, how should we approach the final? What do we think? Because, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that will probably feel that we will approach it the same way we did the semi-final in terms of how the defensive type setup. But this is a one-game opportunity, winner takes all.
Oh, are you on about the players? I thought you was on about me. I was going to say I'm landing in Prague about 9 o'clock. On it.
Well, let's get some the comments in, Scott. Right.
Yeah.
Hell, mate, I'm gone.
Yeah, right.
Right. I sound like my nan when I'm just going through the names of the fucking grandkids. Right, we'll get the comments and then we'll get onto that big point. Yeah.
This is going back a bit earlier because this one coming a bit later in the comments. I saw it went on last week. There was no violence from the West Ham fans, but about 60 odd AZ fans got up and cheered when they went 1-up, which obviously didn't go down well in the West Stand. So that's touching on what we were saying earlier with what the Alkmaar spokesperson was saying about. Brooksy 4567. Would you play Kerr or Soufal in the final?
Soufal. Love Kerr. Soufal's back. You know, it's his home, and he's been quality this season. It's harsh on Kerr, but it gives us an option as well if we want to need to bring Kerr.
I sort of agree with that. I would go with Soufal just for it's in Prague, you know, and he's been brilliant this season. And Kerr's done really well. Don't get me wrong, but I just think for the moment, I think I'd start Soufal.
I'm on the fence with that one. I like Soufal. I prefer him generally, but again, rhythm. Are we gonna like it? Are we gonna do the sentiment thing, which we tend to fall in the trap of generally? Or are we gonna have that sort of rhythm winner mentality? I'm always Soufal all day. But do you know what? Yeah, I think we can go Soufal because against Fiorentina, in terms of how they play, I think we can afford to go with our fullbacks pushing a little bit. I feel so. Yeah.
It's tough. I see what you're saying, Brian. You can't be sentimental, and I get what Ryan's saying. It's his home stadium. 1 second, I've got to shut my dogs up because they're going at it. Stop. There he is. They're you can't. We've got to see how fit Soufal is. I prefer Soufal at right back over Kehrer, but I think Kehrer's done enough for me in the last few games, especially last night, to warrant that he should start in the final.
Play Soufal. If he is fit, he was on the bench. Play him in the Leeds and Leicester game. See how he gets on. And if he is firing on all cylinders and he is looking like he's bang up for it, then put him in. And then, you know, like I said, Kehler's flexible, so you can play him in the centre back if something happens, or you know, there's options there where he might come on. He's got whatever happens, he's got his medal, Kehrer, anyway. But that's a great question, Brooksy.
Philip, 1999 super chat. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Brian, hope you're enjoying the debate. Your debut on Friday Night Pint, you're a fantastic addition to the channel. Do you remember when you first appeared on a fan cam, and do you know much about the channel? Come on, you Irons.
That's a good question. Cheers, Philip.
Nice one. Yeah, no, both, man. Like I'm loving the debut. The guys have always been good to me anyway from the get-go, but I do remember my first time and stuff. But yeah, I knew about the channel because, you know, been going now for a while, 15, 16. And it's funny, man. Like it's yeah, a lot's changed, but some of that early stuff is good as well, man. Like some of that early stuff is really good. So yeah. Cheers for that.
Cheers, Philip.
Nah, it's good to have you aboard, man. It's good.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been looking through your contract, and once you've made 10 appearances, we've got to give you a full-term deal. So,
Adam touches on this point going into the game against Leeds, that if Forest and Everton win and Leeds beat us, relegation is still possible for us. So this is why it's key not to lose the game against Leeds.
No, because I think still it's the goal difference. The goal difference is still massive.
There's got to be a 13-goal swing from Leeds.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and they've got fucking Patrick Bamford up front, so they ain't banging it. And
he scores active against us.
Exactly. Now, careful, mate. Curse of the commentator. Borough fan saying, "Well done, Scott. You flipped him."
I saw him star right. I was like, "You starred that quick."
LTL 1010. I'm Brian in at the moment. Nicky is hanging on by a thread.
I'll tell you what. When we was out, people were coming up to me and saying about obviously Little Abel's fan cam that's gone mental.
Yeah,
and they're all going, "Fucking hell, you do one." I said, "You step in for 1 week and do fan cams, you get a viral one." And they're all going, "Nicky, I bet you're gutted you didn't do that one." And any exposure is good.
Never wanted Moyes back, but who would we end up with? That's a good question by NWO Police Snoop.
A lot of possibilities there. Like I said, Paulo Fonseca, I like Brendan Rodgers. I think we spoke about this on the show a few weeks ago. I don't know about you, Brian, in terms of options of what you think, because we did a show about it, but I don't know what your thoughts are. Mate.
It's like whoever comes in, they've got to come in with a philosophy that goes from the academy, and you kind of sort of like breed it up. So I guess, you know, this might not be almost a bit like the Potter Brighton model. Yeah. So when he came in, you know, Chelsea was probably a little bit big for Potter, but then at the same time, he had people above him who was buying players that weren't his players. So he had a squad of 30 people, you know, guys nowhere to sit in the change room and all that kind of madness. So he had a kid in a candy shop, a lot to play with. I think with a squad like ours, starting from scratch, he could potentially be someone that comes with a plan and a project and a bit of versatility. But I'm kind of open, and for me, it's about playing good football. It's possession-based football. We've got a lot of players in the squad who are good players, and I just want to be able to watch the team string more than 5 passes together, nice little round the corner balls, and it's attractive. Winning football that's attractive, or competitive football. Do you know what I mean? So if someone can come in and do that, I'm you know what I mean, I'm not too fussed. I just want someone to play progressive football.
That's the after talking to Clive Best and what he was saying about, you know, how Ron Greenwood instilled and John Lyle instilled how to play football, it just made me so sort of wistful for that style of play and just nostalgic of the times. Even under Harry Redknapp, we played good football, and this connection between that and West Ham and that being part of our identity and getting to see that again. You know,
that's why I mentioned when they said about like who I wanted the other week, and I know we probably won't get him, but Thomas Frank at Brentford, I think it'd be perfect for West Ham. I think the way he plays football, I think what he could do with the players we've got, and add a few more players. And I know he's banned at the moment, but with the Declan Rice money, if you could get an Ivan Toney to come into West Ham and just have him as your main focal point up front,
that's probably the reason why we would get him, right? Because I think a lot of top teams are looking at him. You know, but I think that could give us, if we was willing to swallow that you know, ban and say, look, we'll pay you and we'll have the ban, that could be how we get him, because otherwise I don't think we would have a chance with the other clubs that will go for him.
Yeah, but no, like he'll come back all about 10 stone overweight.
Yeah. Right. Steve sent us a $4.99 super chat, and then
Cheers, mate.
Did comment and say, "Evening, chaps. Still buzzing from yesterday. Last game of the season ticket holder on Sunday. Moving myself, the missus, 2 young boys to Australia in August. Hopefully, sign off with us winning the cup. Come on, you irons. Cheers for the super stat, Steve, and good luck."
We've got a lot of great fans out there in Australia, so I'm sure you can connect with some of them and get together.
When's the pre-season tour? That's in July, so you'll just miss that. Yeah, good luck with your move, mate.
Yeah, all the best.
All the best, mate.
Matt Ryan, another $1.99 super chat. Love and respect, lads. Let's win the cup. Massive.
Cheers, Matt.
Got a JD 1061. $49.99 super sticker.
Wow. Bloody hell.
Thank you very much for that. I don't know what a super sticker is, but
it's super. If you want to put a comment in for us to read, then do that. If
mate,
you wanted
for $49.99, he can send in one every week and we'll read them out.
Yes. Probably with the super chat as well. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers for that. And I've got one more comment starred before I go and lock these dogs outside. Andrew McDonald says, second Moyes after winning a trophy could scare off managerial candidates.
Interesting.
There we go.
It's a good point. It is a good point.
Wouldn't be, look, if Moyes goes after the cup final, it will be something that probably was agreed provisionally beforehand. I can't see him. I can't see the club sort of like Game of Thrones style and just like chopping his head off after the cup final if we win. I really feel it would be a situation where it's kind of either been provisionally agreed already, or Moyes sort of says, I'm going to leave.
Yeah. And I think looking at what we was going to get to about the approach for the final, Brian, I think because you seem to have a little bit more of an insight on Fiorentina. So yeah, if you want to start off with how you would approach the final, it'd be interesting to hear. I'll quickly read that. Duke Stribbling has a £2 super chat, or super blank, I'll call these super blanks. They just go, here's £2. I've got nothing to say, but I appreciate it.
He's just tucked £2 in the pot, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much for that.
Nice one. Yeah, look, if it was me personally managing and it's Brian at the wheel, definitely, because it's a one game winner takes all. The handbrake would definitely be off, and I would approach it a bit like how we approached the United game, where we do keep it nice and tight, but the front four would press from the front, and the back four will just hold their defensive line, so then no one sort of gets caught out. So I would play and go for the win, basically. In terms of how I think Moyes will play it, it's a tricky one because there's one side to me that thinks like everyone else in terms of, you know, he's going to approach it defensive minded. But I think he's a bit like all of us as well in terms of knowing what's at stake and knowing for him, it will be the first time he gets a trophy in his career. And I think he wants it just as much as all of us do. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think he'll go for it. I mean, Fiorentina, they're mid-table. So yeah, they're about 9th, 10th this season. Haven't had the best off season, but not the worst by their standards, because they've pretty much turned into a mid-table team. They play a 4-3-3. They kind of play a possession base, but it's quite a slower tempo. So in terms of like how we would match up against them, it's almost like if I were to kind of compare them in terms of how they play in their style now to a Premier League team, I'm trying to think of someone. Yeah, I'm not. I'll have to think about that. But they're basically possession based, and they're not in a hurry to get the ball back to front very quickly. And I think matching up against them, it'll be quite an even contest in my respects. But it's definitely one that I think we could win. You know, they've got a few ball carriers in the midfield, in their midfield three. I think Bonaventura plays for them. He used to play at AC Milan. He's getting old now, but they got a few like ball carriers. So that midfield matchup will be for me where the game is won and lost. I think equally they will be a little bit apprehensive about some of our players. So I think, yeah, it's a good game, but it is definitely one we could win. I kind of wanted it in some ways to be Fiorentina, just for that nostalgia. It's got a better ring to it. You know what I mean? West Ham,
Basel,
yeah. And the thing is, only because of, you know, the season they've had, I actually do believe we can give them a really good game. It's kind of even, but bookies will have us favourites, and they don't always get it wrong. They weigh up a lot of stuff. So it would be interesting, but I would approach it definitely with the handbrake off, but just keeping it nice and tight. Moyes style in terms of the front four, so Antonio, and then that sort of that bank of three behind, or if it's a 4-3-3, then, you know, that kind of front six sort of doing a bit of pressing with Rice and Suchek. The back four, I just want them to just hold that line, because last season we're not a team that's set up to play a press. Like, we never really play a press because it's more about shape with Moyes. And when we do implement it, it's only normally that the front players or the players go off grid. Yeah. So a bit like Arsenal in the second half, where to me it looked like the players said, you know what, let's do this. We can, and they kind of went off script, in my opinion, watching the game. So I think, yeah, that's how I approach it. Little tight element, but still kind of go for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, mate.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, like you said, I think his approach will go a bit. It won't be as pragmatic as we've seen, because you can't draw. You win or you lose this game, right? And we don't want to take it to penalties at all. So, yeah, I think this is the game. It's like one game. It's the last game. So I think, yeah, press.
I think,
we give them space.
I think where we hurt a team like Fiorentina will be set pieces with what we've got in the height in the box, and we get them right. I mean, it hasn't always come off this season, but you've seen in previous seasons, when we get it right, we can hurt teams. And I think that someone like Declan Rice in that midfield breaking up, I think the back four, I think starting lineup, everyone's fit. I think it'll be the same as last night, but Soufal in at right back. Yeah, I think that's what works. I think someone like Ben Rama, we know what he's like. He thrives off of crowd's reactions. Like when the fans are running. And some of these players, this could be the biggest game of their career. I mean, in that team, I mean, Declan Rice played in the Euros final for England, but looking around that squad, I can't think of anyone else that's played in any finals in that team. Maybe Ariola went to the World Cup, didn't he? But he was a sub for France in the final.
Zuma played for Chelsea in the final.
Kurt Zuma played for Chelsea.
And Emerson.
But that's what I think. Like with having someone like Zuma, he's got that experience. You know, he's done it before. He's been there. He's been in the change rooms in finals. And little things like that. Even Declan Rice will bring that because he's with England during Euro 2020. He's got that experience now. I know he wasn't captain, but he can bring that in. How you prepare for games, do something different, But that's where I think that we could hurt Fiorentina is on the set pieces.
Yeah, I watched a bit of the extra time that they'd done with Basel, and see them scored. They scored the winner, and we can't afford to give them as many chances as we gave Alkmaar last night because I think they will punish us if we do that. We need to be a bit more, a bit higher tempo. I'm with you, Brian. I do think that if we can win the midfield battle, if we can control that midfield, we will win the game. But we just can't be too negative.
Yeah,
and sitting too deep and sitting too far off them. I think we've got to be a bit more in their face, especially in the final third, because we can't afford to give them that many chances. But the end of that game, it was a crazy night last night because I finished watching our game, flicked over to watch the extra time on that, and then went and watched the penalties of the playoffs.
Yeah, I did the same. What a turnaround in that game, by the way.
That was mental. No one gave him a chance, and to go on and take the penalties is crazy.
That is why football is the best sport in all, especially in England, man. When you get League One games and they produce results like that, I mean, being 4-0 down, that should have been game over. And it's Sheffield, I've always liked Sheffield Wednesday. I always remember Sheffield Wednesday, always at club. Growing up, you used to get the sticker books. Remember that? And Sheffield Wednesday were obviously a big Premier. Used to get Chris Waddle and all that, and Darren Moore, I think, is a really good manager, very underrated as well. And when I see his speech, I watched it earlier, like he said in the change rooms, I love things like that because they don't get enough recognition. These lower league managers. But I know he failed. He didn't do well at West Brom, but to turn that around, he deserves credit.
Definitely.
Yeah. The dressing room stuff looked great.
Even like the playoffs though, like the Championship, you've got Luton Coventry coming up.
Yeah.
Now, everyone was thinking, Middlesbrough are nailed on. Michael Carrick, everyone was like this and the other. Either Coventry or Luton's going to be in the Premier League next season. That's great for them. It's great for them.
Yeah, it'd be great to see someone like Luton. It was like when Bournemouth first came up. When Bournemouth first came up as a club their size, with a stadium their size, everyone was like, bloody hell.
Mate, if you think it's hard to get tickets for Bournemouth away, you ain't got no chance getting tickets for Luton away.
No. No, you got to go through someone's house to get in the ground.
The thing for them two, one of them two coming up, when you look what they've been through, especially Coventry, they got relegated from the Premier League. They lost their ground. I think they've had to play. They played at Doncaster. They've played at. Did they play at Birmingham? I think because they haven't had a home pitch, and for them to get back within touching distance of the Premier League, and then Luton to come from where they've come from and get to, they were at one point West Ham rejects. I think they had so many of our ex-players playing for them, and but it's good. It's good to see. It's good to see. It's good for football having these sort of romantic stories of clubs struggling for so long and then clambering their way back up.
Yeah, let's see how romantic it is, Scott, when West Ham played Coventry on the opening day and they beat us 1-0.
We probably would draw that. Probably would happen.
So it was Northampton, not Donny. Sorry.
There's a few more super chats. Bobby Rawlins here. He sent the blank super chat, and I think he sent another one into it with the comment. You could have just put the comment straight after, mate. But we appreciate you all the same. Would you like Will Still as manager?
I don't think he's won. He ain't won for ages now. He needs to get back on Championship Manager and learn from new tactics. I think. Listen, I've got nothing against him, but I think everyone just jumped on the bandwagon because he's a bit of a West Ham fan and he won 10 games in a row or whatever it was, and it's a bit like Michael Carrick as well. I think everyone was just so desperate to get rid of Moyes they would have taken anyone.
Yeah, and I think because you hear him in saying, manager go, it's my dream to manage West Ham. Like I said on this show, at the time, you're gonna feel a connection to that. That's gonna tug at your heartstrings. And I hope one day, he builds up his experience and he's in a position where he can manage.
Who was the other manager that said that the other year and everyone wanted him? The Cowley brothers. And they're the same. They're big West Ham fans, and I think the last job he had, they got sacked at Portsmouth, didn't they? So you can have that connection, but to be a Premier League manager, you need to be like another level.
It's tough, isn't it, though? Like, because sometimes I look at it and I think the Championship is such a hard division to get out of. It's a really, really tough division. And you think, you know, some of these managers, if they did get that opportunity earlier on, you know, would they have gone and kicked on? Whereas they spent maybe too long in the Championship, and then, you know, you make a mistake and then you're just down in the mire, you know. You never know, innit? It's one of them what ifs, but yeah. Brian, what's your Will Still feeling? Will Still?
Yeah, not for me. I think you summed it up well, really, in terms of like, you know, people jump on it for that reason, really. They think, yeah, it's something that fits for that period of time because of whatever we're going through. And I guess like what Ryan says, you need thick skin to be a Premier League manager. And sometimes you got to block out all of the noise. You got to be really stubborn. You got to believe in yourself. You got to have an idea and a plan that's got to convey to the players. And if you look at who's that other guy, the guy, you know, came in at Southampton, had a lot of self-belief in it, but it just didn't work out for him, man.
Yeah.
And he got found out quite quickly. There's been so much manager merry-go-rounds this season, and they haven't all paid off. They haven't all paid off.
Yeah, you look at Leicester with Dean Smith. You know, they brought him in and they've not really picked up. I mean, Roy Hodgson went in at Crystal Palace. He knows the club inside out. They needed that little bit of a boost, and they got it, and they've pulled themselves right away. So sometimes it works. And so yeah, that's Nathan Jones was the one that come from Luton. So he left Luton to go Southampton.
Yeah,
he's been sacked, and Luton can go up. Football's a funny game, isn't it?
You just look at the Leeds, though. You think, why didn't they get Big Sam in the first time instead of Javier Gracia? Like, they would have been sorted. They'd have been fine. Like, they look so much more organised, and they look a much better team under Sam. So that would have been the first port of call. But Javier Gracia, weird signing for when you're in a relegation battle. So they might have fucked it there, but we'll see on Sunday. Anagi with a plan. I've probably butchered that. $4.99 super chat. Cheers from College Station, Texas. Y'all are always a highlight of my week. I've not heard of College Station, Texas. That's very interesting. I need to Google that after this.
Yeah.
But we appreciate
knows that one because he likes saying y'all.
Y'all.
Roy May as well.
It's very amusing. I hate it when English people start using it.
Yeah, Roy was in the comments earlier on, so I don't know whether he's still around. But yeah, we've there's a few people from Texas who watch us.
Some Texans, y'all be watching us. Paul G with a £1.99 super chat. Welcome, Brian. Good input, fella.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you, sir.
Roy May should comment saying, Dan, that's where he lives. They live near each other. And I forgot the person's name now.
A Nagy with a plan. Oh, Roy May Jr. Yeah, he lives in College Station, Texas. I've heard of Houston. I've heard of Amarillo. I've heard of Dallas. I've not heard of College Station, Texas. See, right. Oh, they know each other. Oh, that's great.
There you go. Are you doing it yet?
Actually, don't need to hear you guys say y'all. Yeah, over here we say you all.
Yeah. Well, we go, oi.
Oi. You lot over there. But yeah, nice. We appreciate y'all in the chat. It's been I'm glad I got to jump on today, and
it's been a good show, mate. It's gone quick, hour and 33 minutes already.
Yeah, I know.
Injury time of the 90-minute show.
Yeah. So, but yeah, do you want to wrap up? Obviously, we've kept Brian all evening. But, do you know what the worst thing is, right? You guys don't see this, right? We're in our WhatsApp group. We go, got Friday Night Pint. What the hell are we going to talk about? There's been no big stories. Like, it's just the game, innit? It's just basically we want to get some big juicy topics to talk about. We go, all right, well, we'll go with this. And then when we get on, we bloody go on. We end up having so much to talk about.
But I think that's what originally Friday Night Pint was, when it just go off script and talk about random stuff. And Like it just
Yeah.
flows because someone will say something, you think, oh yeah, and you jump on that, and then someone else will say something, and yeah, no, it worked well tonight. I've enjoyed it. It's always good having someone new on the show, and yeah, no, it's Nicky's going to struggle to get back in the starting lineup. I think Graham's been loaned out to a non-league team somewhere.
Non-league
No.
channel. Yeah. We got Edward Turner with a $10 super chat.
Thank
So
you.
proud of the boys. Looking into flights from Oregon, USA to Prague today. Flights for around 2K round trip.
Wow.
But this is a
Wow.
huge moment that I can't imagine missing.
Do you know
Hopefully
what?
I'll see you in Prague.
$2,000 from Oregon to Prague ain't too bad because I was sitting in Amsterdam Square last night and a lot of people were trying to get flights, and some people were getting like 3 days out there for like 1,800 quid. Right.
I was looking at little workarounds like fly to Munich, get a train, you know, things like that.
There's all them options. Even if you drove it, it's 14 hours. Like there'll be coaches, like people will be laying on coaches. Like I know it's a long time on a coach, but
yeah. Honestly, but I think Americans in general get a bit shafted with prices and stuff like that. Oh no, Nicholas Turco, don't say that. It's 2.79 Canadian dollars. We got bigger fish to fry leads. Listen, Robbie said that and he cursed them. We got bigger fish to fry.
The only time, whenever I think of expressions now, I think of him doing these impressions. Robbie, we've got bigger fish to fry.
That's like that came back to haunt Robbie in a big way. So I've been trying to avoid saying that because I've been tempted, but it's like remember when the Ollie at the wheel season and everyone was posting like their manager was at the wheel and all their managers went off the rails, including Pellegrini. West Ham posted at the wheel and all the managers went off the rails after that. So at the wheel curse.
Oh, good.
So I'm trying not to.
It happens. Curse of the commentator always happens.
Yeah,
Indeed.
honestly, bigger fish to fry, indeed. Honestly, so yeah, no, but no, great show. Like I said, I've been watching it all the way on the way home, you know, and glad I got to jump on with you lads. And yeah,
well, as you was late, then you can end the show. Then
okay. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, it's been a great show.
Oh,
Of the season. What?
You disappeared then, mate. You went all quiet.
Did I? I might say, probably because I slapped the thing with my mic.
Yeah.
So listen, big thanks to Brian for joining us.
Cheers,
on his
Brian.
first.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate. And listen, I know you're not on the Twitters, but you're on the Instagrams. Let's tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, it's Brian.Duffus. Duffus spelled Duffus. Yeah, hit me up on Instagram. Would be good. Listen, thanks for having me on, definitely, and I appreciate all the love I always get from the fan base and stuff. Really appreciate it, man. So thank you.
Yeah, no, we always love to hear you.
Last song, mate. They used to love us in the beginning.
yeah. Familiarity breeds contempt, they say, don't they? Familiarity breeds contempt. No. So yeah, no, it's brilliant. So do check that out. Ryan does some great Brian. See, it's what you were saying about your mum.
I tell ya. What did I tell you?
It's gonna happen, isn't it?
Brian does some great charity work with young people. So yeah, go check out his Insta and the podcast, which is up now with Nikki and Brian. So check that out. But Sunday, big stuff. We're going to be enjoying it. Yeah, and one thing left to say.